At 50, many begin thinking about retirement. At 60, some start downsizing their lives. But at 82, you begin to see clearly which choices were wise and which ones you'd give anything to undo. As a geriatric doctor with over 40 years of experience, I've walked through the doors of countless nursing homes, places where once strong, independent souls slowly fade into someone they no longer recognize. And today, I want to share with you the truth, not the sugar-coated brochures, not the polished sales pitches, but the unspoken realities. Things no one warns you about before you move in. I still remember Mrs. Evelyn, a retired schoolteacher, full of life and energy, when she chose to move into assisted living. She told me, "I just want to feel safe. To have someone around in case something happens. I don't want to be a burden to my kids." 6 months later, I saw her again. Her once sparkling eyes were dim. Her voice, barely a whisper. She looked at me and said, "I thought I chose convenience. But I ended up trading away my soul." If you, or someone you love, is considering a nursing home, I hope you'll stay with me through this video. What I'm about to share are the 7 deepest regrets I've heard time and time again from my patients, along with lessons and solutions that could save you, or your loved ones, from walking the same painful road. Let's start with the very first regret. And perhaps, the one that breaks people the most. Regret number 1, losing control over your own life, and never getting it back. If you're someone who's always been used to choosing your own routine, what to eat, when to rest, whether or not to clean the house, then moving into a nursing home can feel like a rude awakening. I've seen it with my own patients. Just weeks after moving in, they speak less, laugh less, until one day, they're simply drifting through the motions, like a shadow of who they once were. Why does this happen? Because they're no longer the ones steering the ship. Every part of their day is scheduled for them, meals at the same time, medications at the same time, baths at the same time, even bedtime. Like clockwork. One 79-year-old woman once told me, "I feel like a child again." But this time, there are no parents, just nurses and schedules. This isn't just a feeling. It's backed by science. Magnifying glass tilted left. A 2021 study from the University of Minnesota, published in the Journal of Aging Studies, revealed, loss of autonomy in long-term care settings is one of the most psychologically stressful factors for the elderly. It's also linked to increased risk of depression, decreased motivation to live, faster cognitive decline. When you no longer decide what to wear, whether you can go outside, or when you get to read a book, you're not just losing time, you're losing your identity, your dignity, and your sense of self. If you, or someone you love, is considering a nursing home, ask yourself this honest question: am I truly ready to give up even the smallest freedoms in exchange for someone else's idea of convenience? If the answer is "I'm not sure," then you owe it to yourself to consider more options. In many cases, I advise patients to look into in-home care or semi-independent living models, places where medical support is available, but personal freedom is still honored. Even the ability to make choices in your own space can make all the difference. Because once you give up control of your life, getting it back is incredibly hard, and in truth, it's the loss of control that ages a person the fastest. Coming up next, a regret that hits even deeper. It's not about what you lose, it's about being forgotten while you're still alive. You can lose your house, your car, even your money, but when you lose the right to live on your own terms, that's when aging truly begins. Regret number 2, feeling forgotten. Even though you're still here, when an older adult moves into a nursing home, the thing that wounds them most isn't the pain, or the meds, or even the loss of routine, it's the feeling of being forgotten. At first, everything seems fine. Family members visit often, they call, they hug, they promise, "I'll be back next week, Mom." But next week turns into next month becomes the next holiday, and eventually they stop coming altogether. I once asked Mr. Harold, 84, at a nursing home in San Jose, "How are you doing here, sir?" He looked out the window and quietly said, "You know, people remember their pets' birthdays, but forget their parents are still alive." This isn't just emotional, it's clinical. Magnifying glass tilted left. A 2020 study by the University of California, Berkeley, published in Aging Mental Health, found feeling abandoned or irrelevant is one of the top predictors of depression in elderly nursing home residents. Even more shocking, social connection is one of the most powerful predictors of longevity, even more than diet or exercise. That's from the famous Harvard study of adult development, 2017. So yes, loneliness doesn't just hurt feelings, it shortens lives. You know what still breaks my heart? I once asked an older woman at a facility, "Ma'am, what do you wish for most right now?" She didn't say better medicine or softer beds. She simply said, "I just want someone to say my name, like I still exist." If you're considering placing a loved one in a nursing home, or if you're thinking about it for yourself, remember this: yes, a place can offer comfort, meals, medication, but no building can replace emotional warmth. If a nursing home is truly the only option, then make sure visits aren't occasional. Make them sacred. Regular. Non-negotiable. Because for someone inside, a weekly visit isn't just a courtesy, it's a lifeline, and once someone feels forgotten, something even more dangerous creeps in, a loss of purpose. Studio microphone silence is not as terrifying as realizing no one needs you anymore, but if you think loneliness is the worst thing, wait until you no longer have a reason to wake up in the morning. If you've ever felt this way, type "I understand" in the comments below, because you are not alone. Regret number 3, losing a sense of purpose, and quietly fading away. We don't live just by food and shelter, we live for the little things, the small rituals that make every morning worth waking up for, a flower that needs watering, a cup of coffee brewed just the way you like it, a neighbor's smile as you say, "Good morning." When older adults are still living at home, they often have these meaningful routines: cooking for themselves, tending their plants, feeding the cat, reading the newspaper, sweeping the porch or doing the dishes. Simple things, but they are, in fact, the very pulse of life. But when they move into a nursing home, everything gets done for them. Meals are brought to the bed. Laundry is collected weekly, bathing times are scheduled, medications are handed out like clockwork. I remember Walter, a retired carpenter, who told me, "I built furniture for 40 years, now there's nothing left to fix, nothing to wait for." This man, once meticulous with every nail and every joint of wood, now sat silently by the window, and I could see him aging faster every week. According to the World Health Organization, WHO, 2020, lack of purpose is a key risk factor for depression, cognitive decline, and reduced life expectancy in older adults. A 2019 study in JAMA Network Open, which surveyed over 7,000 seniors, concluded, older adults who reported a strong sense of purpose had a 23% lower risk of death over the next 5 years. In other words, purpose isn't just emotional, it's biological. It is life itself. As a physician, I've seen this with my own eyes. The elders who thrive aren't the ones in luxury care homes, they're the ones who still have a reason to live every single day. So if you, or a loved one, are thinking about a nursing home, please ask yourself one essential question: who, or what, will give me a reason to wake up every morning? If you can't answer that clearly, then the home may protect your body, but it will quietly steal your spirit. But don't worry, the solution doesn't always mean staying home alone. Sometimes it looks like living with family while still doing part of your own cooking, having your own space near your children's home, joining a seniors club, volunteering part-time in your community, as long as you are still living for something, not just being cared for by someone. And once someone loses their sense of purpose, the next thing happens shockingly fast, so fast, it often catches families off guard. Studio microphone: a life without purpose is the fastest road to decline, and once you stop moving, your body begins to shut down. Regret number 4, declining physically faster than you think. Just because you were overcared for, when patients first move into a nursing home, many of them feel relieved. They no longer have to worry about cooking meals, no more cleaning, just press a button, and someone will come help you. It sounds comforting, doesn't it? But a few months later, they come back to me, visibly weaker. "Doctor, I used to walk to the market near my house, now, I can barely get out of my chair." I once treated a lovely lady named Alice. When she moved into the nursing home, she still walked a full lap around the courtyard each morning. 6 months later, she switched to using a cane, then a wheelchair. Eventually, she spent most of her days in bed, not because her illness got worse, but because she stopped moving. Many studies have confirmed this trend. Magnifying glass tilted left. A 2019 study published in the Journal of Gerontology, Medical Sciences found, reduced daily activity in older adults leads to muscle loss, decreased strength, and a significantly higher risk of falls. Light bulb. According to the American College of Sports Medicine, 2021, just 1 week of bed rest can cause a person to lose 1 to 2% of their muscle mass, and the World Health Organization has ranked physical inactivity as one of the top 10 causes of death among people over 65. As a doctor, I'm not against rest, but too much rest becomes a silent enemy of aging. I often tell my patients, the human body is like a car, the less you drive it, the faster it rusts. So if you or a loved one is considering a nursing home, don't just ask, is the food good? Or is the place clean? Ask, will I still be able to walk every day? Will I have access to light exercise or physical therapy? Will someone help me stay physically active, not just medically stable? If possible, create a space, at home or in a care setting, where light movement is encouraged every day, a walk around the garden, sweeping the porch, watering plants, because once you stop using your body starts to shut down. Studio microphone. Most people don't fall because they got old, they fall because they stopped standing up too long ago. And when the body weakens, it starts to rely more and more on help, but with that help often comes a subtle, painful cost. You begin to lose your privacy, and worse, you lose the feeling that you are still fully human. Studio microphone. You don't grow old because of time, you grow old because you stop living, and the next regret may take away your sense of self entirely. Regret number 5, losing privacy, and losing the feeling of being fully human. There's something people rarely talk about when it comes to nursing homes. You're no longer the master of your own life. At home, you can close the door, you can choose silence when you want, you can bathe whenever it feels right. Sometimes simply sitting alone is a kind of freedom, but in a nursing home, privacy becomes a luxury. Staff may come in and out of your room at any time. Bathing or going to the bathroom might require assistance. You might have to share a room with a total stranger, someone who may not be compatible, or who might suffer from advanced dementia and no longer control their behavior. I once cared for Mr. Richard, a dignified man, always neatly dressed, with a deep sense of self-respect, but at the facility, he was placed in a shared room, with someone who had lost control of his hygiene and made loud noises throughout the night. After 2 months, Mr. Richard, who once addressed every doctor as sir, started withdrawing. He looked down more often, he spoke less. One day, he quietly told me, "Doctor, I don't feel like myself anymore." A 2020 report by the British Geriatric Society found, loss of privacy in long-term care contributes to feelings of being treated like an anonymous patient, leading to reduced self-esteem and increased risk of depression. Another study from the International Journal of Older People Nursing, 2018, stated, being constantly monitored or lacking personal space causes chronic emotional stress, and lowers the ability to recover from illness. Studio microphone. How long has it been since you could say no in your own room? As someone who's worked in healthcare for decades, I want to be fair. Most care staff are incredibly kind and dedicated, but the system itself often unintentionally strips older adults of their privacy. If you're considering care options, please look into these questions. Is a private room available? Can daily routines be personalized to match the individual's habits? Are staff trained to respect the dignity and autonomy of every resident? And if you have the option, consider home care or part-time assisted living models, places where elders can still close their doors, choose when to eat, dress how they want, be called by their name, not by their room number, because sometimes personal space is the last refuge of human dignity. And if you think, well, if I don't like it there, I can always leave, here's a harsh reality that many discover, when it's already too late. Studio microphone. No one can truly be themselves without a space to retreat to, but even more painful than that, is realizing you may not be able to leave, even if you want to. Regret number 6, I thought I could leave anytime, but leaving was harder than getting in. So many people, patients and their families alike, have told me the same thing. If the nursing home doesn't feel right, we can always leave. We'll just go back home. It sounds reasonable, but in reality, it's far more complicated. Let me tell you about one of my former patients, Mrs. Nora. She was 81 years old when she moved into a nursing home temporarily. Her son's wife had just given birth, and he needed time to support his young family. Everyone thought it would just be for a few months, but then, her house sat empty, the bills stopped being paid, the utilities were cut, her children began discussing selling the house, since mom already has care now. And worst of all, she got weaker from lying in bed too often. One day, she looked at me with teary eyes and whispered, "Doctor, I want to go home, but I'm afraid, I don't think I'm strong enough to live alone anymore," and in the end, she couldn't go home, according to a 2021 report from the National Institute on Aging, NIA. Older adults who spend 3 to 6 months in nursing homes often experience a decline in mobility and self-care abilities, to the point where independent living is no longer possible. Even more sobering, a 2020 survey by the AARP Public Policy Institute found, older adults 76% of seniors enter nursing homes with the intention of staying temporarily, but only 18% actually return to their homes. Why? Their physical condition deteriorates, their homes are sold or abandoned, their savings run dry due to high care costs, their children get used to the stable system and hesitate to change it. Studio microphone: getting in is easy, but getting out, once your health, your home, and your choices are gone, can be the hardest thing of all. Whenever families come to me considering nursing homes, I gently warn them, don't just prepare to enter, prepare your way out. Long before you ever step in. If you, or someone you love, sees the nursing home as a temporary solution, then please, keep your home intact, do not transfer property ownership too quickly, stay physically active to preserve independence, keep in touch with neighbors and old routines, and most importantly, don't give up your right to choose, just because things seem settled, because stability doesn't always mean peace. And what feels convenient today could become your greatest regret tomorrow. What pains me the most is that many people never needed to go into a nursing home, but they lacked information, support, or a better plan, and made a quick decision that changed the rest of their lives. Studio microphone: many entered just to stay for a few months, but that place became the final chapter of their life, not because they wanted it, but because no one told them there was another road. Regret number 7, I could have lived freely for a few more years, if only I had known my other options. Many seniors don't enter nursing homes because they have to, they do it because they don't know what else is possible. They're afraid of falling with no one there to help, they're afraid of being alone, they're afraid of being a burden on their children, so they think, the nursing home feels like the safest and simplest choice. And I've heard these words over and over, I don't want to be a burden. Let's just go there, it'll be easier for everyone. Just for a few months, then I'll come back home. But after the decision is made, after everything is settled, they begin to realize, I wish someone had shown me a different path, I wish someone had told me clearly what I'd be giving up. A comprehensive study by the National Institute on Aging, 2021, revealed 70% of seniors in the U.S. could continue living at home if they had the right support systems in place, such as mobility assistance devices, part-time home care services, independent senior housing communities. Today, there are so many alternatives to traditional nursing homes: house in-home care on a schedule, visiting nurses, helpers, brain technology-based safety monitoring, fall detection bracelets, cameras, older adult co-housing or senior living villages with shared resources, handshake peer support models where seniors help one another, village movement. And more importantly, many seniors are still capable of managing most of their daily lives, if they begin preparing before their 70s. As a doctor who has witnessed far too many rushed decisions, I want you, the person watching this, to remember this: don't choose a nursing home because it feels convenient. Choose it only if you truly cannot live independently anymore, if you can still walk, cook, plan, and think clearly. Even if you need a little help, then protect that freedom the same way you protected your family, your dreams, your life. Because freedom is not just about movement, meals, or routine. Backhand index pointing right. Freedom is about being in charge of your own life, at any age. Studio microphone: life doesn't repeat itself, and freedom, if you don't hold on to it today, might quietly leave forever. But don't worry, you still have time to prepare, to protect what matters most. Dear friend, I don't deny that nursing homes can be the right choice for some people, but if you still have a choice, Please choose a life that is not only safe, but one that honors your dignity, your values, and your true self, because here's the truth, you don't have to pick the easiest path, you can still choose the most meaningful one. Thank you for staying with me until the end of this video. If you or a loved one are considering a nursing home, I hope these 7 heartfelt lessons have given you a fuller, more honest, and more compassionate perspective, because sometimes, the decision that seems the simplest, can become the one we regret the most, and if you're in your 50s or 60s, don't wait until your health declines to start planning, start today. Plan early to protect what matters most, backhand index pointing right your freedom, your dignity, and your right to live life on your own terms. Direct hit if this video resonated with you, backhand index pointing right. Please leave a comment below, I'm ready to live proactively after 50. Or share your thoughts, because your words might be the light someone else needs. Bell, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell. Each week, I'll share practical knowledge, real stories, and thoughtful advice, to help you live stronger, freer, and happier after 50. Outbox Stray. And if someone you know is torn between staying home and moving into a nursing facility, please send this video their way. Sometimes, the right message at the right moment can change a life. Folded hands. Thank you for your trust. I'm Dr. James, and your journey to living well, independently, and joyfully after 50, is only just beginning. See you in the next video.